Is gymnastics the hardest sport? I can't imagine it isn't. A lot of you might say, oh come on. It's the only sport where you don't get to use equipment. But what you don't see is exactly why gymnastics is by far more difficult than any other sport. Let me start out by saying I'm not a fan of people who have never done gymnastics trying to compare it to other sports. Obviously, if you've ever practiced any sport before, whether it's football or baseball or basketball, you know that you can't compare gymnastics to them. The reason being that in all these sports your body weight is supported when you are running, jumping, throwing, etc., whereas in gymnastics your body has to support itself in midair. This is what makes gymnastics so difficult. You have to use your mind and body together at the same time, which in turn will make it much more stable than any other sport. The reason I say this is mostly for all the people who thought that, oh yeah, a lot of cheerleaders jump around on their hands, that's just like gymnastics. No. If you want to compare it to something, then try doing a standing back handspring in the air with your arms overhead. That's for real. Facts about gymnastics. Number 1. Gymnastics is one of the most physically demanding sports out there, for people who aren't incredibly muscled. It consists of 4 events: floor exercise, rope climbing, rings, and parallel bars. Every event except the floor requires the athletes to do flips and twists in midair, which results in them often banging their head or landing awkwardly on their necks. It's like cheerleading but way more intense. If you're not feeling bad enough for gymnasts yet, consider that they often twist, twirl until their hands are bloody, because if they don't have calluses they can rip right through the skin during competitions. And now take a second to read about this little girl who lost her leg being forced into training by her parents. Number 2. The first ever female gymnastics competition was held at the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam. One of the U.S. women's team members, Alice Milliot, had to petition for months to get women allowed into the games and threatened to boycott if they weren't included. At one point she decided that even though all female athletes were going to be competing together, she would only participate if a gold medal was awarded to a woman, but her idea was rejected because it wasn't feminine. As a compromise, Miss Milliot suggested that during each event men not be allowed on the track or field with the women, which led to International Olympic Committee Chairman Avery Brundage having her removed from competitions by police. So, the group of female athletes she had worked to get included in the Olympics was escorted off by cops because they wouldn't accept second place. Number 3. The highest ever score awarded for a gymnastics routine is 16.566 on the vault, and it was achieved at the 2004 Olympics by Cheng Fei, who is an 11-time world champion. She has also won 2 gold medals at the Olympics, including one in 2012, which made her China's most decorated Olympic athlete ever. Note: this record has since been broken. But Cheng isn't just good at gymnastics, she's okay at soccer too. After graduating from high school in 2007, she turned down offers to play on Chinese professional teams in favor of pursuing Beijing Olympics qualifications in 2008. That same year, Cheng was chosen to be on the Chinese women's gymnastics team, which she led at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, where they won a bronze medal. Number 4. The horse used for vaulting has to have absolutely perfect posture, or else it could injure both itself and or its rider during training or competitions. A couple of years ago, Russian gymnast Viktoria Komova was injured while practicing on one of these horses when her foot got caught between 2 fencing posts, so now there are wood bases under the metal parts that prevent this from happening. But even with all that, safety measures still weren't enough to keep Komova safe, because at 2012 Olympics one of her heels got caught in the springs attached to the vaulting horse, which caused her to fall off and break her ankle. That injury meant that she had to withdraw from the games and couldn't compete with the Russian gymnastics team, who won a bronze medal and then silver at Rio 2016.